Good morning. Welcome to another edition of what? Hot chocolate news. Hello. I missed y'all too. Listen, we got some news to get into. Let's make sure we have no wardrobe malfunctions, and then let's get right into it. Oh, I'm sorry. Who am I? I am your girl, Shaquila, the Black Girl Magic Master herself, CEO, of one of the greatest new mobile minority tech companies out here. You already know. But anyway, we specialize in making sure you do business certifications, financial literacy, anything you need. Anything that you would go to the Urban League for and wait weeks and months for them to do, we do it in a matter of weeks for a small fee, of course. Now, let's get right into what we need to talk about, and that's today's headline news. Did y'all see? I need to start with the news that I want to start with, okay? And the most disturbing news that I saw today, because I need to take a breath. One of the most disturbing things being reported to me today was this article right here. And this has been reported by what wonderful news email that I get? The CNBC Morning Squawk. And they usually give you 5 things to kind of know and peruse. You should really subscribe to CNBC Morning Squawk for your email. But, and I'm going to try to have my employees start putting all my links in all these past videos so that you guys can access them when you need them at a better time. But let me tell you about this. Your boy is with the shits. Okay, have you ever wanted to know how to play chess? Have you ever wanted to know how they really do it when world wars are going on? All right, well, let's just check this out. Listen to this. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think on this hot chocolate news today. Putin threatens to freeze Europe. Now, I reported in Hot Chocolate News the other day about some situation about how your boy said that they were going to shut down that pipeline, the Nord Stream 1, for some maintenance. Turn right around and did an about face, and now dude is saying this. So Russian President Vladimir Putin, basically, his forces right now are being bogged down in Ukraine. Okay? So he lashed out at Europe. He's lashing out at Europe, which is already contending with an energy crunch, thanks to Russia's decision to just basically halt the gas supplies in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline last week for maintenance, but then turn around and do about face for some more bullshit. But anyway, please pardon my French. The Lord is still working with me. If you do not like this, this is not for children. All right, let's not move on. Let's not just sit there on that little situation. So that move, basically, of him halting the gas supplies to the Nord Stream 1 is putting pressure, real pressure, like for real pressure on Europe, on the European governments, basically, as they prepare for what? The winter months, the cold months that are coming ahead like clockwork. So, at an economic forum, Putin said Russia could basically sever all energy contracts in response to the political moves, such as price caps and energy imports from his country. He went on to say, and I quote, "We will not supply gas, oil, coal, heating oil. We will not supply anything," Putin said. And then he went on further to say, we would only have one thing left to do. As in the famous Russian fairy tale, we would let the wolf's tail freeze. That sounds like a challenge. That sounds like a real challenge. So I just wanted to bring that piece of news up first. And then the news of the day. Yo, first of all, it was reported first by Morning Brew. It was really reported first this morning, like I said, for Morning Brew. And this is what the headline said. Now, we're just going to read verbatim because y'all know I like to go ahead and read with y'all about what's going on. But listen. Because I'm going through all of the headlines because, yo, this is crazy. I mean, it's a lot going on. Oh my God. Okay, let me do a stat. Before we do that first switch name, let's do a stat. A single cell phone alert may have helped save Californians from blackouts during the peak of the heat wave on Tuesday, because an alert was sent out to about 27 million cell phones in California, urging people to basically cut back on their energy use. And in the 45 minutes after the alert was sent, power use dropped by a significant 2,600 megawatts, helping the grid avoid being overwhelmed. We were down to the last gallon, the CEO of California's primary grid operator said. I mean, listen, that's all they got to do. They just got to let us know. That's it. That's all they got to do. Okay, so apparently the next article that I want to report was not in Morning Brew. It was possibly in CNN's 5 Things. And it went like this. Steve Bannon, a former aide to ex-President Donald Trump, is expected to surrender later today and plead not guilty on charges related to an effort to basically raise money to fund construction on a wall along the southern U.S. border. The New York State charges basically allege that Bannon and 3 others defrauded donors in a border wall effort, which raised more than $25 million. See, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they launched a criminal investigation into Bannon's We Build the Wall crowdfunding activities early last year, after then President Trump basically pardoned Bannon. You know what I'm saying? On federal charges relating to the same alleged scheme. Now, one caveat to this. Presidential pardons, however, do not apply to state investigations. Newsflash. Now, Business Insider went a little bit further on this article. So let's see what Business Insider had to say. Because they said Steve Bannon surrenders in Manhattan. We Build the Wall donor scam case. So let's read what Business Insider, because it says last time Bannon was busted for the We Build the Wall donor scam case, it was abroad. It was aboard a $28 million yacht. Ooh. So in state custody in Manhattan on Thursday, he may instead find himself handcuffed to a 1970s era chair. This is what Insider is reporting. And unlike after his 2020 arrest, Trump can't throw Bannon a life preserver in the form of a federal pardon with this one, right? So it goes on to say that Steve Bannon basically turned himself in. So he went on and did that, y'all, this morning at the district's attorney's office in Manhattan, where he will be held pending an arraignment on state charges that he pocketed donations from the sham We Build the Wall charity in 2018. Now, Bannon arrived shortly after 9 a.m., stepping out of a black SUV and shouting to the press cameras that he was being persecuted. Of course, you know, like they always do. But that's ironic. I mean, there's an irony on the very day the mayor of this city has a delegation down on the border. They're persecuting people in New York State who are trying to stop them on the border. Oh my God, a protester could be heard and everybody like, stop hurting America, you greasy two-bit drifter. The new charges he now faces will have a familiar ring for Bannon, basically the right-wing agitator and former Trump White House advisor and aide. He was busted on the same allegations by the feds in August 2020, when U.S. Postal Inspection Service agents memorably arrested him on a $28 million super yacht that was off the coast of Connecticut. Now, Bannon pleaded not guilty in the federal donor scam case, as he is expected to again do today, this afternoon. You know what I'm saying, in a few minutes here. Now, but there will be some notable differences on this particular chart, Mr. Bannon. This time around, Donald Trump cannot pardon you, Bannon, as he did early last year, as one in a flurry of a high-profile exit pardons that your boy did and commutations on his final night in office. You already know. Arpaio and everybody. He did your boy anyway. And Thursday's arrest being reported by insider will take place in a far less elegant surrounding. Basically, it's going to be in a far less elegant surroundings than the Lady May, the luxury yacht of the Chinese fugitive businessman Guo Wingui, where Bannon was taken into custody 2 years ago off to Westbrook, Connecticut. Bannon instead was met by the New York Police Department detectives assigned to the prosecutor's office. The so-called Danny squad. Buck 'em, Danny! Buck 'em, Danny! I'm sorry. Let's have a praise break. Buck 'em, Danny! Buck 'em, Danny! Buck 'em, Danny squad. Buck 'em, Danny. So the so-called Danny squad. Okay, sure. Let me make sure we don't got no let's make sure we don't have no wardrobe malfunctions going on. Okay, so the Book 'em Danny squad, y'all. Ooh, wait. The Book 'em Danny squad. Ooh, where was he? Where was we? Oh, okay. Basically walk through a magnetometer, and then escorted up to the DA's office on the 9th floor of a lower Manhattan courthouse for booking. Ooh, I just got some really good information. They're definitely going to cuff him soon after he walks into the lobby, predicted the veteran criminal defense attorney Stacey Richmond. Now, he'll be taken to the 9th floor for processing, as explained by Ed Hayes, another longtime Manhattan defense lawyer, and they'll fingerprint him, and then they'll take his mugshot. It's a taxpayer-funded chipped paint on the walls kind of old office space. Noted Mr. Jeremy Saland, a former Manhattan prosecutor now in private practice. But anyway, after he's booked, they'll probably keep him in the DA squad office where they fingerprinted him, or the DA investigator's office. This is what Saland said. So there, he'll wait for his afternoon court appearance, quite possibly in a 1970s era chair, Saland said, and they could handcuff him to the chair. They could not. We will not know until later. It depends, but it's certainly not going to be like that $28 million yacht situation that happened, right? I mean, they can't get that off their head. They cannot. So let's move on to the next. Let's move on to other news, right? So COVID-19. The CDC is now rolling out an updated COVID vaccine booster, y'all. And this is following the FDA's authorization late last month. So these shots are going to replace the boosters that were previously offered in the U.S. for people 12 and older, and will target both the original strain of COVID-19 and the Omicron subvariants. So I'm hoping that's the BA and the B4 or the BA or whatever that is. But with many Americans wondering whether they should get the booster now or wait, some medical experts advise getting the shot soon. If you have not been vaccinated in 2022 and if you have not had a recent infection, this is why they're saying you should probably go get the booster. CDC guidelines say people who recently recovered from COVID-19 can wait 3 months from their infection to get the booster because reinfection is unlikely immediately after recovery. Oh, did you know that? Also, y'all, the heat wave scorching the western United States is basically on track to maintain its intensity over the next few days. So we need to pray for those in California. In California, the operator that manages most of the state's power grid issued an alert today, calling on residents to set thermostats to 78 degrees or higher. avoid using major appliances, and turn off all unnecessary lights in the evening. In neighboring Nevada, residents have also been urged to reduce their electricity usage as well due to the significant reduction in the available energy supply. So, the National Weather Service said that the heat wave will end abruptly and usually in some parts of the Southern California after a rare hurricane makes a close pass by the region. So, climate experts are saying that the storm will likely create an alarming combination of extreme heat, flash flooding, damaging offshore winds, and an increased fire threat throughout to Saturday. Now, this is what also has been happening in Pakistan, y'all. So y'all need to just, let's just go on and stay in prayer warrior mode on that. What else is happening in today's news? Morning Brew. Let's see. Morning Brew reported something that I really wanted to talk about today. Which was that? I said, oh, really? Is that what that is? Is that what that is? Francis TFO. Francis TFO. Can we get it? Go, Francis! Francis TFO is basically living the American dream. See, raise a honey deuce to Francis TFO. The 24-year-old American tennis star, he dominated Andrei Rublev yesterday in the U.S. Open to become the first American man to reach the semifinals since 2006. The win came after TFO's stunning victory on Monday against the 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal. So, everybody, including LeBron James, is firmly in TFO's corner. TFO. Listen, this is how he got to the stage. How he got here is very remarkable. Okay, see, he was born to immigrants from Sierra Leone. Oh my God. TFO spent most of his childhood at the Junior Tennis Champions Center that was in College Park, Maryland, where his father worked as, in maintenance, most nights, TFO and his brother slept in a small makeshift apartment in an old storage closet that his father set up. So out on the court, the young TFO played against much wealthier kids, but what he lacked in designer sweatbands and shit, he made up for in unrelenting practice and passion for the motherfucking game. Black boy magic master right there. That's what we are. You might want to put us in a box, but you won't be able to mess with God's chosen. I'm going to say it like this. He said, the life I led, even with all the struggles, was a blessing in disguise because we concrete roses. TFO said this in an interview. I'm so freaking proud of this young man. Here's the big picture. This year's U.S. Open has more warm fuzzies than a chicken soup for the soul book. Okay? So, because for what was likely the last tennis match Serena Williams will ever play, ESPN averaged 4.8 million viewers, making it the most watched tennis match in the network's history. I got chills. Let's move right along. Work. Let's talk about work. Quiet quitting really isn't a thing. It really ain't new. You know what I'm saying? That's being reported by Morning Brew. Listen, at least it isn't new. It's not a new thing. Just a thing that we talk about on social media these days. You know what I'm saying? Quiet quitting. You know what I'm saying? Quiet quitting became the latest zeitgeisty type of workplace trend to spawn 1,000 think pieces after media types started noticing TikTokers posting about it this summer. Right? So, they said you're not outright quitting your job, but you're quitting the idea of going above and beyond. Zayd Letapin said this in his viral TikTok on the topic. Rather than resigning, it means sticking to the job description and maybe binge watching some Dyson Airwrap tutorials during work hours. But for For all the media hype, the percentage of workers who say that they're not engaged at work has stayed above about 50% since 2000, per Gallup poll, y'all. Still, the most recent poll suggests that some workers are more checked out lately. The highest proportion of workers in nearly a decade said that they actively disengaged this year. Basically, it was like at 18%, up from 6%, what I'm saying, in 2019. So there might also be some new emphasis as quiet quitting is an offshoot of the anti-work movement, and most recently the 5 to 9 videos that detail creator routines before or after work. Basically establishing clear boundaries around what that is. You know what I'm saying? The trend may also line up with the Gen Z's anti-capitalism situation, eat the fucking rich type of shit that they're on. Rhetoric and wider labor market shakeups during the COVID. This is what's going on. But the bottom line, quiet quitting may just be a buzzword, but the mentality it presents here is going to stay. You know what I'm saying? Basically, grind mode is out. Grind set is out. Setting healthy work-life boundaries is in. But you're not going to stop this. This is it. All I got to say is with retirement people considering staying in just a little bit longer until recession pans out and things like that, and people over there in Europe, coming out of retirement, what I'm going to suggest here is that you do your best at your job. Don't fucking play with it. And you should be grateful that you have a job, because one of the key things that the Fed are thinking to get rid of all this inflation is to cut these jobs. And then you're going to be crying. So stop it. That's all I got to say. Now let's go into our grab bag of key performance indicators. I love my quotes. Let's see what this quote says. I've never watched Silicon Valley. It's too close to home. So, Alphabet CEO. Now, you know what Alphabet is. Alphabet is Google. Okay. Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai may never have seen the laid-back version of the search giant that is depicted in the HBO satire, but he's looking to tighten things up at the real Google. Basically, faced with an increasingly uncertain environment for tech companies, Pichai basically said Tuesday he wants to make the company 20% more productive. Also, what's being reported is, did the New York Times purchase basically kill Wordle? Did it kill the Wordle? All right. Also, further note, what quiet quitting is really about. It's hard to count all the ways employee-employer relationships have basically changed since 2020, but employee engagement now is at a historic low and can have major impacts on your organization's success for the future, or success or failure, basically. So this is why people come to the biz doc, because I'm a certified project manager. I do all things, I'm saying. I'm a Black girl magic master. My powers, I all use them for good. Now, as I pursue my doctorate this final year, you guys are welcome to tap in, ask me questions, and do whatever, and get this pro bono work before it's not pro bono. But anyway, I digress. Now let's go into some more stuff that was brewing in Morning Brew today. Did y'all know? Now, this was reported last night also, because I look at CNN Nightcap as well. But Kim Kardashian is getting into the private equity game, you guys. She done teamed up with a former Carlyle partner. And she's going to open a firm that will invest in consumer and media businesses. So we will be looking to Miss Kardashian for funding. Anyway, also, what else is brewing in Morning Brew? The Obamas were back at the White House, but just for a visit to attend the ceremony for the unveiling of their official portraits. And the final suspect in the in the Canadian mass stabbing that killed 10 died of self-inflicted wounds after the police ran his car off the road. A federal judge in Texas ruled that the Obamacare mandate to cover HIV drugs violated the religious freedom of a Christian-run company. No. Yeah, no. That's just so ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Um, oh my God. Now watch your back. Because here are the four kind of employees most likely to get laid off in the current downturn. And this is according to Insider. So now this was reported on September 6th at about 6:27 a.m. And it says for a while, way back in 2021, it looked as if nothing could go wrong for professional workers. An unprecedented hiring frenzy gave millions of Americans a chance to ditch their jobs for better ones. Those who participated in the Great Resignation landed big raises, great benefits, and all sorts of perks that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Now, it was, as some new outlets hailed, the year of the worker. So then, just a few months into 2022, the cracks started to basically appear. At first, the layoffs were limited to a few troubled startups, you know what I'm saying? But before long, everyone from Netflix to JP Morgan began to slash headcount. You know what I'm saying? And the red hot job market started to show signs of a slowdown. Now, in the past 3 months alone, party people, the website's layoff.fyi has counted more than 40,000 people who have been let go. Amid all the hiring freezes and layoffs, everyone is quietly beginning to worry, am I next? So these quiet quitters need to shut up. Then, just a few months into 22, then to answer that question, economists at a workforce data provider called the Revelio Labs basically started with a list of 17,000 professionals who had been laid off since March of 2022, right? So using the people's LinkedIn profiles, the economists compared those who were let go with everyone else who was working at their companies. So how much tenure did the people who were laid off have versus those who escaped the chopping block? What did they earn? How old were they? What kinds of jobs did they perform? The results were striking, people. The results revealed four kinds of workers who are getting laid off. Y'all ready to get into it? Let's get into it. You know, and all those that are enjoying my TikTok videos, we will rehash these in our TikTok videos tomorrow. Now, the data reveals this is one of the type of workers that are most likely to get laid off in this economic downturn. Recent hires, number one, last in, first out. It's called LIFO. Basically, that's how companies often decide who stays and who fucking goes. So it's no surprise that in the current wave of layoffs, veteran employees are enjoying more of job security. So the average layoff employee at Revelio Labs and analysis basically had worked for their employer for about 1.5 years plus, meaning that they were most likely hired near 1.2 years, meaning that they were most likely hired near the start of the Great Resignation. So by comparison, the average tenure at those same employers was about 2.5 years, suggesting that you're far more likely to be kept on if you joined the company before the coronavirus happened, before that pandemic had happened. So one factor that's making tenure an especially important factor right now is the widening pay gap. You know what I'm saying? Between recent hires and long-time staff members. I got to make sure, the girls be wanting to come out on certain days, and they just can't be coming out, especially now with all this silky stuff. Anyway, hold on, y'all. We got to make sure there's no wardrobe malfunction as I'm getting heated as I'm reading this, because it's saying one factor that makes tenure an especially important factor right now is the widening pay gap between recent hires and the long staff members. And as this author wrote in May, companies have been forced to compete so fiercely to attract new talent during the Great Resignation that they've been doling out salaries that are about 7% higher on average for new hires than existing employees. So in some tech occupations, the gap is as large as 20%, y'all, and that's really significant. So that's the primary reason, in fact, that record number of Americans switched jobs during the Great Resignation. They knew they could get a bigger salary by changing companies, but those huge raises came with a hidden risk. And now that the economy is slowing down, new hires have found themselves with a big fat target on their back with your fancy little packages that you left for in the shape of a big fat dollar sign. Number two on the list of people that are most likely to get fired during this economic downturn. Number two, the high earners. Oh yeah, there's an obvious reason making a bigger salary makes you a sitting duck in a round of layoffs. You know what I'm saying? Employers, they save more money by cutting the jobs of the high earners. Period, point blank. Revelio Labs found that the salaries of those who were laid off were substantially higher across a variety of occupations than salaries of people who kept their jobs. So the average layoff engineer, for example, made about $86,000 compared with the average of a $75,000 for engineering roles. So people who were let go in operations, administration, sales, and marketing roles also earned about $10,000 more than their counterparts. So the more you make, the more you're at risk and face being laid off. I'm just sorry. That's just how it is. You need to see me and start your own lucrative businesses. I don't know what don't even worry about it. So number three, who else is getting most likely to get laid off during this economic downturn? Millennials. In a previous analysis, Revelio Labs found that young professionals were much more likely than their older coworkers to switch jobs during that Great Resignation. So the moment presented an especially welcome opportunity for millennials who have been slogging it out for years in a low-paid role following the global financial meltdown in basically 2008. Spurred by the hot job market in the aftermath of the pandemic, they were finally able to basically regain some of the earnings power that they had lost in 2010, right? But now the decision to switch jobs has come back to bite their little ass in the ass. Young workers, late 20s, early 30s, indeed, the current round of layoffs have been largely millennial phenomenon. Okay, and at the employers Revelio Labs, they implemented job cuts. Millennials made up 79% of the workforce, but suffered an astonishing 94% of the goddamn layoffs. Millennials see me. Gen X workers and baby boomers who mostly stayed at their existing employers have been largely spared from the job cuts. And the youngest workers, Gen Z, were underrepresented in the layoffs, probably because they're not earning enough yet to make them useful targets. So millennials, on the other hand, are kind of stuck in the middle position, and basically now they're in the middle age. You know what I'm saying? They make more money than recent grads and are therefore more expensive to employers. But they haven't developed the experience and the know-how that basically have made the older colleagues indispensable to the bosses. So that's just a warning, you guys. And number four of the people that are most likely to get laid off during this economic downturn, during the recent wave of layoffs, no one has been at greater risk of getting cut than those of recruiters and coders. It makes sense. The last thing a company needs in a hiring freeze is an army of people whose sole job is to hire. The opposite was true during the Great Resignation earlier this year. Businesses were on a hiring spree, and recruiters who they needed to carry out a hiring spree for, they had to do it for everyone else. So as recently as March, though, job openings for HR professionals were basically up 130% during the pandemic, marking some of the biggest increases across the dozens of occupations, which was tracked by Indeed. They've since tumbled by about 40%. And they're hovering at about 90% as far as job openings. So, software engineers have also suffered disproportionately in the recent round of job cuts. That surprised me because the layoffs for Revelio Labs study were primarily concentrated in tech industry, and the tech companies are notorious for having a two-tiered workplace in which you got coders, which they are like gods, and then you usually have the last to get laid off because, I mean, they're usually the last to get laid off because they're considered essential to the core of the business. But this time, engineers were actually more likely than those in other roles to get laid off. That's most likely because their salaries rose so dramatically during the Great Resignation, when they were in high demand, that their companies saw layoffs as a way to reset pay and make it a little closer to the pre-pandemic levels. So in contrast, some of the occupations that are enjoying the most job security right now are the ones that weren't in demand during the Great Resignation. You know, accountants like myself and project managers like myself. For example, we never enjoyed the kind of hiring frenzy or bidding war that recruiters or software engineers did. And as a result, we've been relatively insulated during this current downturn. And according to Business Insider, all of these findings point to a single conclusion. Your risk of losing your job today probably depends on how much you benefited from the Great Resignation. You know what I'm saying? Workers who have jumped at salary offers that were way above market rates, as many did over the past year, now find themselves being viewed as a liability by the companies that regret going overboard on hiring these salary increase type of positions in the aftermath of the pandemic. So those who stuck with their old jobs, kudos to you. And they basically have thus far been more likely to keep their jobs. All right, that has been your hot chocolate news for today, September 8th, 2022. Listen, love, peace, and hair grease. Remember, if you pray, you don't have to worry about a god darn thing. You know what I'm saying? And if you know what I'm saying, and this is for all of those that are negative, I return to sender all negative energies, thoughts, or gossips that have been sent my way times 10. All right, show me how good it get. And I will talk to you in a minute. All right, y'all. Love, peace, and hair grease. You already know. Thank y'all for joining me today.